What's up, everybody? It's Luke James, not the singer. If you're looking to get your music reviewed, you can hit up this email that's right here. But today I'm going to hit you up with my thoughts and opinions on this latest release from Eminem called Kamikaze. Now, I don't need to do a big intro here because we all know who Eminem is already, but I think we were all surprised to see that this project came out so soon since Revival came out just last year. I believe it dropped around December, so it hasn't been that long since his last release, but that album was not received well at all, and you can really tell that he took it to heart. On this project, he really does deal a lot with the critics who are speaking out against him, and I would say that this album is a perfect example of how criticism, constructive criticism, negative criticism, just saying what you gotta say, can actually result in an artist fixing pretty much everything about their music and making better music. Of course, it all depends on opinion. Some people liked Revival, but the general consensus with that album seems to be that it was some of his worst work. So now we are going in the right direction, because he is snapping like a junkyard dog right out of the gate on this one. I really like the song The Ringer. This is an opener. We're getting a bit of a banger here. And his flow was back on track because while it has been kind of choppy over the past couple of years, he is snapping all over this damn project, man. If there's one thing that you cannot take away from Eminem after hearing this, is that his flows and rhyme schemes are crazy. I know a lot of people are talking about how he's just rapping fast and cramming words. He's always done that, but at least now he has his flow back, and he really is saying some things if you actually take a second to look at the lyrics and listen to what he's saying. You are getting some silliness here and there. I'm not going to front like everything he says is great, and I will talk about that later, but for the most part, there are some things to break down here. Like on this song, The Ringer, where he's taking shots at mumble rappers, he's also calling out the critics who panned his album. But one thing that kind of made me roll my eyes on this song is when he said that Revival went over our heads. Now, I can respect that some people liked it. I also know some people didn't, myself included. But come on, man, you can't say that shit went over our heads. If anything, a lot of those songs were really force-fed. I think it was pretty blatantly obvious what those songs were about. There wasn't anything on there that was too deep and intricate for us to understand. So I just thought him saying that was a little bit of a Mr. Fantastic size stretch. Just how I feel. In spite of that, I'd still say The Ringer is a great track, and I would list it as one of my favorites, along with the Joyner Lucas assisted track called Lucky You. This is just a vicious banger and bar fest with some of the best flows and rhyme schemes you'll hear all year. Really can't hate on the bars throughout this project, really like these flows. So on here, M's verse in particular has some of the most ridiculous flows I've heard this year, and once again he's speaking on the state of the rap game by saying that he doesn't hate trap music, he just wishes people still cared about crafting quality songs that had actual content on them. I'm definitely with him on that. He even speaks a little bit on youngins lacking respect for hip-hop elders as well as the ghostwriting crisis in hip-hop, so he really is coming with some old head shit here, but I respect what he's saying. I'm a bit of an old head myself, starting to get some gray up in here, my hairline's all pushed back and shit, so I get what he's saying, and I do appreciate when artists care about the quality of hip-hop, so I thought that was pretty cool. But it was kind of surprising on this song, and throughout the album in other instances, but on this song in particular, he says that he took an L with Revival. Found that kind of funny since he was on the other song saying how it went all over our heads, but I do kind of understand where he's at because he's kind of between a rock and a hard place, you know what I'm saying? It's like he's got to defend that album because it is his art. It was very cathartic for him, we could tell just by the content and the stuff that he was getting at, and yet at the same time, he knows that shit didn't go over too well, man. That was panned by plenty of people, so I respect that he's at least keeping it real in that aspect. Now, even on the song called Greatest, another solid banger with Mike Wilmated listed as one of the producers, he's mimicking Kendrick when he spits that Revival didn't go viral. Clearly Eminem knows that that album wasn't that great, so you can respect him for that at least. There are even some skits on this project where he's joking about how much he's talking about that, how he's getting upset with people for talking all that shit about Revival, so there is that level of self-awareness, you know what I'm saying? A lot of people were complaining about Eminem doing so much complaining on here, but a lot of rappers do that. They respond to their critics. On one hand, I can understand how people might think Eminem is doing it a bit too much on this project, but hey man, it fueled the fire. A lot of people had shit to say, and he's just airing them all out. So I think this is actually one of Eminem's best projects in years, man. Really did keep my interest, at least. And of course, we got to talk about how since this is an Eminem project, he is frying all kinds of people on here just like he always does. Not going to be able to talk about everybody he's frying because there's tons of names on here and you'll hear for yourself when you go through. But on Not Alike, he responds to MGK, who shot some subliminals at him on a Tech 9 song. He just absolutely smashes him. He even threatens to call Trick Trick on him, so that's no joke. And overall, I did have some mixed feelings about this song. On one hand, it does kind of sound like it's just a Look Alive remix because it's basically kind of like a parody of that type of music. You are getting great bars from Royce, by the way. But, you know, Eminem is mimicking some new age flows and ad-libs over top of this Tay Keith beat, so you got to understand that it's a parody, and then you'll appreciate it a bit more. On the first listen or two, I didn't really like it that much because I was like, what the fuck is he doing? But it came full circle once I really understood what he was trying to do, and this song grew on me, man. I especially like some of those flows Eminem is ripping on the end of his last verse. Like, he went all the way fucking off on there, man. Some of the flows on this are really crazy, so I thought that track was definitely one of the standouts. You get a nice beat switch up on there for Eminem's verse as well, so that was great. But the track where Eminem is really going in on people is the song Fall. I wasn't too big on the auto-croon hook here because it has that wailing effect to it. I also thought the beat was decent, but nothing to write home about. In spite of all that, Eminem is just firing off shots like Yosemite Sam on this bitch, man. He is going crazy. He's calling out all kinds of people. He gets at Joe Budden when he says the closest thing you've had to hits is smacking bitches, a reference to Joe Budden's past because there's been some pretty murky shit that's gone on there in regards to domestic abuse charges. And he even throws a homophobic slur at Tyler, the Creator, while also suggesting that he's created nothing, which really is just ridiculous because Tyler is a crazy creative person who's created all kinds of shit, and his last album was one of the best the year that it dropped. Scumfuck Flower Boy is a great album. I love that album. So, you know, he's just firing some kind of wild shots here. I'm not going to act too surprised over Eminem dropping that homophobic slur. Obviously, that shit is played out in 2018. There's no excuse for it at this point in time, but that's kind of what Eminem does. So I wasn't clutching my pearls or gasping when I heard him say it. Still, you know, we can't critique him for that, and I understand why people are tired of that in rap music, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, there are a lot of great things happening with this album. I've spoken on a lot of things that I've liked about it. But as usual, man, this album suffers from some of the usual Eminem bullshit that some of us can't stand. You're getting some questionable beats, questionable hooks, and of course, those Eminem singing vocals, which I find to be one of the biggest moments of contention with Eminem's music, man. A lot of people are split on that. So, with the song Nice Guy, we're getting a draggy beat as well as some of the most obnoxious vocals and lyrics. Lots of, you know, talking about sucking my dick over and over in no interesting way. Nothing clever happening with it. Just thought this song all in all was really bad. And Venom sounds pretty much exactly like you would expect it to sound. Just an over-the-top track for a movie, the upcoming Venom movie, which does look pretty cool. But you are getting some of that kind of outdated production here, more of that Eminem singing. So these were a couple of tracks I didn't really care for. But the worst offender on this album has got to be the title track, man. This shit sounds so weird and awkward and cartoony. It's like something that was pulled out of Bugs Bunny's asshole. And some of the bars on here are going to make you want to commit seppuku. He says, wedgie in my underwear, the whole bedsheet and the comforter, stuck up in my rectal crack, kiss my disrespectful ass. Why you would go out of your way to rap that is beyond me. And he also says, teabag the microphone cause I go nuts on it. These are just a couple examples, and you are getting that usual lowbrow humor from Shady, just as you would expect, but it's not really funny or interesting at this point anymore, especially coming from a 45-year-old. It just seems especially played out, in my opinion. But in some instances, the flows and rhyme schemes he's working do mask some of these things, you know what I mean? It masks some of these issues, because when he's just snapping on projects, I'm not really going to care too much if some of the bars here and there are questionable, but still, there are some that stick out, and I think it's worth speaking on. It's kind of like putting duct tape over a gaping hole, you know what I mean? You're still getting some of those bad bars, the issue is still there, but it's alright because you got those flows and schemes. At least that's how I would put it. Now, we also get the song Normal. This beat sounds like it was made on the cheapest of Casio keyboards. I really didn't like this beat much at all. And Eminem is on here with some more bullshit bars, like when he says that girls are being extra like a fucking terrestrial, which doesn't even make sense. Like, in order for that to make sense, extraterrestrial has to go together to make it that you're an alien. Like, I understand how those words can be connected, but in this instance, I mean, being a terrestrial doesn't automatically make you extra. I don't know, I didn't like that shit. And again, he's using some more sing-songy flows here, while also suggesting that people slept on Revival, which is really far from the truth, because if anything, everybody checked it and had an opinion on it, which isn't sleeping on it. People just didn't like it because it was ass crumbs. So that's what I would say about that one. So at the end of the day, I'm going to go with a light 3.5 out of 5 here, because I think Eminem improved on pretty much everything from that last record. This is really one of the best albums he's put out in a couple of years, in my opinion. I think the flows are improved, the beats are improved, although some of them I still wasn't big on. And, you know, you are getting some questionable hooks and singing, but for the most part, there are a lot of great things here. I did take a little bit of extra time with this one to listen through it, because I know I'm hard on Eminem, but I think he did pretty damn good here. Not something that's going to make my year-end list by any means. I don't even know if it would be an honorable mention, because there's so many great projects this year, but this is definitely an improvement, and I'm pretty satisfied with this for what it is, man. He kept it simple. He didn't go too crazy with the concepts and content, and I mean, that's good when people do that. I like concepts and content, but with Revival, he did that and really just didn't have good beats. So, there's all kinds of different things that go into the recipe, but my point is, this is a pretty short album. Like, it doesn't drag on too long. For the most part, you're getting some great songs. And I also got to talk about Stepping Stone. This one was cool as well because he's breaking down the rise and fall of D12, and he even goes on at the end to say that D12 is done. Very interesting and heartfelt track. He just opens all the way up, so I did like that. But again, you are getting some pretty questionable singing on there. I just do not like when Eminem sings pretty much every time, like 9 out of 10 times. I'm not a fan of it. So if you don't mind Eminem singing, this is probably like a 4, maybe even higher for you, man. I guess it depends on how you feel about that. But that's all I got to say about this one. I know I can't go on everything. I could go on and on and on and on for like half an hour if I wanted to, but this is where I'm at. This is how I feel about it. You guys let me know in the comment section if I missed something you want me to speak on. And of course, check me out on all my social media sites so you can show me love and show me lots of it. Thank you for watching, everybody. I will see you next time. Almost double poked my eye out, man. That'd be would have been stupid.